At the dawn of the 20th century, America was a nation of dreamers. But behind every dream stood a banker. The industrial boom didn't just create factories, it created financial dynasties. J.P. Morgan, Rockefeller, and Carnegie realized that real power wasn't in making products, it was in controlling the flow of money itself. Banks became engines, companies became collateral, and the U.S. government became their partner in progress. When the Federal Reserve was born in 1913, it wasn't just a central bank. It was the foundation of a new empire, one that could print power out of thin air. Debt became fuel. Inflation became strategy. The game had changed. From now on, wealth wasn't just earned. It was engineered. By the 1920s, America was booming, skyscrapers rising, cars roaring, and money flowing faster than ever. But beneath the jazz and champagne, a quiet revolution was underway. Finance was replacing production. Wall Street turned promises into products. Stocks, bonds, and speculative futures became the new gold. When the crash came in 1929, millions lost everything. But the architects of the system, the bankers, the brokers, the insiders, found opportunity in chaos. The Great Depression wasn't the death of capitalism, it was its rebirth, in paper form. The New Deal gave banks a lifeline, and with it, leverage over a generation. From then on, America's true export wasn't goods. It was debt, wrapped in confidence, sold as prosperity. World War II changed everything. While Europe burned, America built. Factories turned from cars to tanks, from textiles to uniforms. But the biggest profit wasn't in production, it was in lending. The U.S. financed the Allies, and in return inherited their debts and dominance. By 1945, 2/3 of the world's gold sat in American vaults. The dollar wasn't just money anymore, it was a weapon. The Bretton Woods Agreement crowned it the global reserve currency, pegged to gold. Every nation now owed America something, either in dollars or in dependence. The blueprint was complete. Control the currency, and you control the world. In the post-war boom, ordinary Americans believed they were sharing in the dream. Home ownership, pensions, job security. But behind the scenes, a different kind of wealth was forming, one that no worker could touch. Investment banks merged with politics. Lobbyists rewrote the rules. By the 1980s, deregulation became the new religion. Thatcher and Reagan preached freedom, but what they built was leverage. Debt-fueled growth, corporate buyouts, and speculative bubbles became the engines of progress. And as wages stagnated, the stock market soared. For the first time in history, the rich weren't just getting richer. They were rewriting the definition of success itself. Credit cards, mortgages, and student loans flooded the economy in the 1990s. To the average citizen, it felt like freedom, the ability to buy now and pay later. But to the system, it was something else entirely: control. Debt became the invisible leash of the modern economy. People weren't citizens anymore. They were customers with credit scores. Banks learned to profit not from wealth, but from weakness. Every default, every late fee, every interest payment, a hidden tax on hope. The billionaire class wasn't built by innovation alone. It was built on the belief that ordinary people would always keep borrowing. When the new millennium arrived, Wall Street had a new toy: technology. Algorithms replaced brokers. Data replaced intuition. Finance wasn't about people anymore. It was about patterns. Hedge funds and investment banks began to see the market not as risk, but as a simulation they could control. The 2008 crash was no accident. It was the system revealing its true nature. Toxic mortgages, bundled and sold as safe, collapsed overnight. Millions lost their homes, jobs, and savings. Yet the institutions responsible were bailed out within days. The government printed money, not for the people, but for the markets. And the lesson learned? Not caution, confidence. Because once you know the system will always save itself, greed becomes strategy. The American wealth machine didn't stop at its borders. It exported its model, credit, consumption, and control, to the world. From Europe's austerity to Asia's manufacturing, every nation played its part in the grand illusion. Emerging economies borrowed in dollars, chasing the dream of endless growth. But when the Federal Reserve sneezed, the world caught a financial flu. Every interest rate decision in Washington rippled through billions of lives. The world wasn't globalized, it was collateralized. And while nations traded goods, Wall Street traded nations. By the 2000s, billionaires weren't just rich. They were untouchable. Their companies shaped thought, speech, and even reality itself. Social media turned attention into currency and data into power. The wealth machine had evolved beyond money. It now owned minds. Philanthropy became a mask. Innovation became influence. Governments, once regulators, became spectators. And through the chaos, one truth echoed. Money was no longer the goal. Control was. Then came the shocks, pandemics, wars, inflation. For the first time, the machine began to shake. Trillions were printed to save economies, but every dollar created made the next crisis worse. The middle class shrank. The rich reached the stratosphere, and debt, once a tool, became a time bomb. The U.S. national debt climbed past $38 trillion. Interest payments alone rivaled military budgets. The empire wasn't collapsing, it was consuming itself. But as long as the illusion of stability held, the game could continue. Today we stand at the edge of a new chapter. Digital currencies, AI-driven markets, and invisible capital flows define the new frontier. The question is no longer who controls the money, but what does money even mean? History shows that every empire of wealth eventually meets its reckoning, but America's genius has always been reinvention. Perhaps the machine will evolve again, not to serve people, but to survive them. And when the next crisis comes, as it always does, one truth will remain. The system was never broken. It was built this way.